haven't done this in a very long time. It seems like I only do this when I have a belated epiphany that I need to record, or I don't know why I do this anymore. But everybody likes to feel seen, and one thing that made me feel really seen today, I was moving a box of stuff from house to house, and in this box were a bunch of Laserdiscs. I'm asking myself, why do you have so many Laserdiscs in 2020? Because they were a thing I would find here and there when looking for other stuff that I would pick up, or were gifts, very thoughtful gifts. And I think that's why I feel most seen when I'm looking at these things now, because they are like a really specific mini, I don't know, portrait of a person, which I think is silly. But also I often find myself looking at people's books and records and things when I go to their homes as kind of what their character is like, or something that's like indicative of who and what they are, right? I know it's silly, but again, it's a real quick and easy way to kind of get a pulse on someone or something. So I thought I'd go through these because there's a lot of things I forgot about, frankly, and I didn't expect to see kind of going through this box. Some of them I remembered, some of them I did not. So let's dive into them. Starting with Crash, the Criterion Edition. For those of you who aren't familiar with Crash, this movie came out, and how can I do this? Maybe there's a better way to like have these set up. I'll figure it out. Came out in '96. It was one of David Cronenberg's films based on a novel. It's basically about people who are aroused by car wrecks, right? When this came out, I couldn't go see it in theaters because I don't think it played around here. It may have, but it might just totally missed my radar. But what I knew was David Cronenberg. I didn't know what this film was really about, and so I asked my mom to pick it up for me from the mall. And again, she's like, "What did you have me buy?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's David Cronenberg. He did The Fly. He did, everything great. What's the big deal?" And she's like, "That movie is NC-17. They wouldn't have sold it to you if you were there. So what are we watching?" So then I got to watch Crash with my mom when I was 17, maybe 16. I don't know. It was very awkward. But I thought the awkwardness surrounding Crash was over. But then, fast forward to last year, my beautiful human Maddie Mark finds this Laserdisc at a Goodwill and shows up with it at my work. And I was like, "Here, I got you this. I got you this erotic thriller about car wrecks by David Cronenberg." And I got to explain to my very conservative office the finer details of this film. That's a beautiful thing. It's also Criterion collection, and there's something to be said for Criterion's Laserdisc library, because there's a lot of stuff that came out on Criterion on Laserdisc that did not come out on any other format. So keep that in mind as we move forward through these. Crash is my most recent addition to that collection. Another similar erotic thriller is Blue Velvet, David Lynch. Everybody knows Blue Velvet by this point. If you don't, go see it. I don't know if there's anything different about this one on Laserdisc, but again, it's one that I found. I was like, of course, naturally, I need to have this. Oh, that movie's so close to my heart. Bebe's Kids. We don't have a multiply. I don't know what it was about this film that spoke to me so much when I saw it. I think it came out in '92, so I would have been 11. I almost was just a little bit too old for this film. There's something about the art direction in this film. If I knew more about it, I could talk more eloquently about the director and the producer and whatever else, but I can't. But the art direction in this film gives it this very surreal Alice in Wonderland quality that is really a complete and very beautiful and stylized journey for a movie that I think a lot of people are willing to dismiss as like bad kids being bad, because Tone Loc is this one, he talks about pooping and stuff. Like, it's actually a really fantastic film about race and about other things which are very probably relevant still in 2022. 30 years later? Is this this is the 30th anniversary of Bebe's Kids. This film's fantastic. Everyone needs to revisit this film. I'm glad I own it on Laserdisc. This beautiful film was a gift from a man, Jason Garnett, which I'm very grateful and indebted for. What do I need to say about Cool as Ice beyond it's a masterpiece? Cool as Ice is one of those movies where when you're the next big thing, there is no one telling you no. There are no limitations on budget and talent you can hire. And the only limitation in this film, and God bless him, is Mr. Rob Van Winkle. Cool as Ice is a masterclass on the ways that things were filmed and shot during the 90s. The gentleman whose name I can't remember, Scandinavian, Norwegian gentleman, the DP on this film, had done a lot of very important and awesome music videos before this, and this was really his first chance to shine as a cinematographer on a feature-length film. So the kind of matching seemed really well, but it went so far beyond that. This film, no film, hardly any film should look as good as this film looks. Hardly any film should have the kind of like stylized art directing that this film has. It is really something else. You can ignore the music and you can watch this with no sound, and it's still a fantastic film. And it's goofy. I mean, meet people where they're at, right? People have a lot of love for Purple Rain, and I understand it, but Purple Rain isn't a very good movie either. Under the Cherry Moon is a terrible movie. Cool as Ice is better than that. But it is of that category of films where, no one was telling him no. And at the time, dude was selling millions of records and was looking like he was going to be the next, like, Elvis or whatever. And clearly that didn't happen. But part of that momentum was he got this film made. And it's a fantastic film. And thank you, Jason, again, for this lovely gift. Jason, I should mention, had this fantastic idea for a thing called the Dead Media Society, which I still feel like we'll get around to maybe at some point, which is showing a lot of these things in these formats that don't exist anymore, like i.e. Laserdisc. Because that stuff, there are weird things about Laserdisc occasionally. The number of Criterion releases for these films that never got other ones. Star Wars is another good example. If you ever wanted to see a really like DVD quality version of Star Wars without all the like new crap that they added into it, you had to find a Laserdisc. And people spent a lot of time piecing together older Star Wars films to make them make sense and look good again, and having them in THX sound and all that stuff from the Laserdisc. So sometimes there's additional scenes. Sometimes there's like that one with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There's like a naked, just one frame of the of Jessica Rabbit on the Laserdisc. But there's weird things like that carried over. So again, don't sleep on Laserdisc, and maybe someday we'll have a screening of just Laserdisc. What I wanted to do really with the Laserdisc screenings was we'll have the film projected, but since most Laserdiscs are going to be formatted for television, we'll have some space on the sides, and on the side I just wanted to have a feed, a little picture-in-picture of the Laserdisc actually playing as a nice little touch to reminder what you were watching. Oh, the Dungeon Master. So this is one of my favorite things that Hollywood would do. They would go, what is freaking everybody out right now? There's just this writer's room with a bunch of newspapers and things. Okay, well, what do we got? What's the satanic panic about in the 80s? Wasp, we are sexual predators. They were part of the whole Tipper Gore war on music and freedom of expression thing. So, of course, they get Richard Mole, which you guys might remember him from The Sword of the Sorcerer and Night Court. But they decided to put together a film with the dude from Wasp, whose name I can't remember. And it should be on the back here somewhere. But anyways, they decided to put together the satanic panic of the 80s with the stuff about Dungeons and Dragons with the dude from Wasp as the villain. And it's not a great film. I don't know if this has been re-released on any other stuff. I'm sure it has. But yeah, man, this film is great. And again, it goes to this like palette of things that how you arrive at the things I like and do. And look at that, just look at that like awesome painting on the cover there. The kind of fantasy art cover. Oh, it's beautiful. What do we got next? Bad Dreams. It's a Scream. I don't know what this film is. I actually don't know if I've seen this film before. When Cynthia wakes up, she'll wish she were dead. Another horror movie from the 80s. It's a horror thriller and stars Jennifer Rubin of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. She was a dream warrior. And Bruce Abbott of Reanimator. That's interesting. Maybe we'll watch this now. But, yeah, knockoffs of knockoffs of knockoffs. So, yeah. Bad Dreams. Ooh, speaking of dark stuff. The Dark Half. One of Stephen King's better film adaptations. Not that he's got a lot of them, but yeah, The Dark Half. It's a pretty good film. There's actually some names in this film, if I remember correctly. Or maybe not. And I think it was directed by George Romero. Yeah, George Romero directed Dark Half. It's worth checking out again. I don't know if you need to see it on Laserdisc necessarily, but watch it again. Oh, King and Romero are their twisted best, said Rolling Stone. And what year was it? This came out, I remember watching this when I was like in 6th grade, so 90s, early 90s, late 80s, 93. Cold Feet. I don't know if this film's good. It probably is. I got it because Tom Waits is in it, obviously. A comic fable about greed, lust, and high fashion footwear. Yeah, this will be one worth checking out again. There's no context clues for me on here about why I should like this film. Bill Pullman's in it also. And it stars Academy Award nominee Sally Kirkland, in case you were wondering or concerned. Look at how Tom Waits is dressed on the cover, though. God. That was worth price of admission for whatever I paid for this thing. Just gun holsters and polyester. There's like driving gloves. Why not? I also like how they put this like horse in here, just to, emphasize that he's kind of like a Crocodile Dundee cowboy. See on his like hat, he's got those like, I don't know, it's like alligator teeth. God, when did this come out? What a complicated time to be alive. I bet this was a really good screenplay, actually. I don't know how it translated to film. But that's kind of one of those things like where you can get talent like that. It's like, we got this quirky, weird, awesome kind of film about cowboys and hitmen and stuff. I don't know. No, Keith Carradine's in it. I don't know. We'll watch it one day. Next, Guns, an Andy Sedaris film. This is not my favorite Andy Sedaris film, but who could pass this up? Andy Sedaris, as you may or may not remember, Hard Ticket to Hawaii, Malibu Express. He was a guy, when people talk about bad movies, and bad movies that are good, this is what they're talking about. Andy Sedaris was a guy who directed football for live television, which, not to crap on it, it's a very different skill set than making motion pictures. And at the time, Mr. Sedaris became very famous for developing this shot where he would cut like there'd be like a bad tackle on the football field, and became famous for being like, oh, cut to a lady being like, in the audience, or someone in the audience very concerned about whatever happened on the football field. And somehow that made him famous enough to get into filmmaking, right? And the films that he made were always these kind of like James Bond knockoffs. They're littered with NFL stars, obviously, because he's in them, and also littered with penthouse models, because why not? So those are your female actors. And then all the leading men are these kind of like very interesting sort of cheese dick. You know, Eric Estrada's in this one. The guy from Bold and Beautiful is in Hard Ticket to Hawaii. And just these like handsome men who can't really act either. To make these kind of like oversexed, poorly done James Bond spy movies. But they're perfect in their own way. And few people can create such an exact thing, an exact vision. Like, the music is just, I wouldn't say it's a ripoff, but it's just like, it's like Peter Cetera on a bad day in a local studio. And it kind of goes with this sort of like bad lighting and awesome bad special effects. I mean, the whole thing is a complete package of that. When people are like, oh, that movie's so bad it's good, this movie's so great at being other than good. It's a masterpiece. Speaking of masterpieces, Drop Dead Fred. This film, I think I've been watching since it was in the theater. It features Rick Mayall and Phoebe Cates, like easily two of my greatest loves in life, for very different reasons. But Rick Mayall plays the imaginary friend of Phoebe Cates, who shows up again after she's grown. There's some great practical effects in this film. There's some very heart-warming storytelling. There's a lot of great things about just this entire thing. And Rick Mayall's sort of like introduction to America. Rick Mayall was in The Young Ones. He was a great kind of alternative comedian. Really a completely underutilized talent. He was in Bottom. He was in that fantastic show where he played Kevin Scurvy. Everything he did was gold, and he was a national treasure in the UK. And I wish this film had done better, because then he might have made more films over here as good or better than Drop Dead Fred. So, beautiful on every level. Next one in the Laserdisc collection, hello Tyler, is Amityville 1992. The terror returns with a vengeance. Amityville movies are interesting because, sort of like the David Sedaris films, sex sold during that time, in particular because there was no internet. Your sources for seeing sex were actually having sex, magazines or pornos, or lightly softcore naked films. And so people got a lot of money for doing lightly softcore naked films. And that's one way films got made. Another way they got made were if you sort of had a franchise, and that franchise wasn't always directly related to the other films in that franchise. Troll and Troll 2 is a great example. They made a film called The Goblins. It wasn't really on a track in America in the same way that they thought it would, so they called it Troll 2, and to hope that there were just enough Troll fans out there to catch on. And this thing happens all the time in film and whatever else. So Amityville, was a very scary movie about a haunted house. Fast forward to Amityville 1992. I don't know which version, I don't know what iteration they're on at this point. I don't know if this is like part 3 or 4 or whatever else. But it's clear that there's a lot of thinking about The Thing and other films that went into this Amityville version, where they were just like, oh yeah, how can we keep telling Amityville but different? One other thing about this film that's great, it was directed by the guy who did Hellraiser 2, which is a fantastic film also. I don't remember this film also, to the point, I'm that old. But, a good another piece of little horror history and the way that films were made. And here's a curious thing. Criterion Collection of the original Ghostbusters. There are a couple different features on this film. The original theatrical trailer and the theatrical teaser. It's also done in Videoscope. The Criterion Collection is proud to present Ghostbusters in its original widescreen format. So beyond this being like the only DVD quality of Ghostbusters for a long time, I think this one came out, this one was printed in '84, so it's shortly after the film. Criterion early on, even if there wasn't a ton of extra features on these, like RoboCop, like everything else, this was really the best way to see films in a really impressive format that was better than seeing it on TV or on VHS if you didn't have a home theater and a 35mm print. Tyler, you ask, how did you like the new Ghostbusters? I didn't see the new Ghostbusters yet. I was going to see it with my kids, and then my kids saw it with their friends and their mom, and so I just kept putting it off. As soon as it streams somewhere, I'll watch it. Heard it was good. I mean, I liked the old lady one. So, I don't know. I'm sort of a sucker for Ghostbusters. Because Ghostbusters were ubiquitous when we were growing up, or when I was growing up. Because there was Ghostbusters, there was the real Ghostbusters cartoon, there was Ghostbusters 2, and they were all so different that it was hard to be precious about Ghostbusters unless you're a very particular type of person who likes to yell a lot on the internet about how a new He-Man series ruined your childhood now as a 40-year-old adult, right? So I'm sure I'll love it. I just hope it's not, my only hope for it is that it's not, I know the kid from Stranger Things is in it, but I hope it's not, it doesn't follow that Stranger Things format where they really try to mine nostalgia so much that it gets in the way of the story. If that makes sense. Speaking of beautiful remakes, David Lynch's Dune. This thing is on at least two Laserdisc. I don't know if there's anything special about this one. It's 2 hours and 17 minutes. Different than the original, it's not. But there's a ton of different versions of this film. And I think that, I don't know, I think it's stupid. It's another thing where people are very precious about certain things and don't meet them where they're at. Dune is a fantastic film. It's got this weird Brian Eno, Toto soundtrack. It has Kyle MacLachlan in it. There's definitely faults in it as a film because they're trying to tell a 15-hour story in 2 hours. So it gets cut weird. There's a bunch of sort of surreal stuff that David Lynch does in this film, which he should do and which every director should do when telling stories the way that they know how. The art direction in this film is worth every minute of watching it. There's this very careful attention to Baroque sort of look and style to things, as well as sort of this mechanized Art Deco. It's beautiful. There's a nice also lineage of film history in here, where the navigators look a lot like Spike from Eraserhead, and I love that detail of this film. And the navigators fully realized. If you think about what Spike would be like if Eraserhead had a serious budget like this film did. No one should sleep on this film or talk crap about it, because it's great. Oh yes, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This film was just great in general, regardless of whether you like the series or not. It's great because it spawned the series, which is also great. I remember going to see this film and being very excited about it because Paul Rubens was in it. And of course, everyone stays for Kristen Swanson, especially if you're a young teenage boy. A very formative lady at the time in terms of being sexually aware. Also, rest in peace, my dude Luke Perry. Some people would argue that 8 Seconds or whatever the rodeo movie is the best movie. I handily disagree. Also, this has David Arquette in it, and he's great in this film. This is great. Here's one thing I think people don't understand about films, and this is definitely a comedy, but horror comedy is like a real thing. And it's a slippery slope because either you do it right and it works, or it's just a miserable disaster. This is a film where horror comedy works really, really well. And especially playing on vampire tropes, especially playing on high school, especially playing off this kind of clueless, mall-centric atmosphere of the late 80s, early 90s. It's a really good film. This one says, this is what gets confusing to me sometimes about these also. The extended play that they have is not always means it's a different edition. It just means it can play a lot on one disc. Oh. Again, I understand why people hate this film. But me and Bo talked for a long time about doing a screening series called Fuck You, It's Good. And it doesn't matter what you think, because at the end of the day, it's great for reasons maybe you don't consider because you're judging it by a unfair standard, and this is one of those films. Gremlins 2, I'm not going to say it would be judged differently if Gremlins 1 didn't exist as a basis of comparison, because Gremlins 1 is a masterpiece. But Gremlins 2, the new batch, where they go to New York, is really something special. It has this odd claustrophobic feel because of the way the thing takes place in this one kind of skyscraper building where there's both like a mall and a science lab and a TV station and everything else they need to write into this film for some reason. The other thing that made this film awesome, and I'm curious how they do this with the Laserdisc because I haven't seen it in a while, but at some point when I went to see this in the theater, the film starts to get messed up because there's clearly gremlins in the projection booth screwing with the thing. The film stops. The film's actually still going. Spoiler. But then it cuts to Hulk Hogan in the audience, presumably where you are, who like threatens the gremlins to get that movie back or he's gonna come slam them or whatever. And it was like a beautiful fourth wall moment for me as a child when I was 9. And hopefully for you too. And this film, it's a great, it's not a good film, but the special effects, the little gremlin design, all the like new variations of gremlins that they come up with, some of like are homage, some of them are just like great, like probably cocaine driven, like spitballing ideas. It's fun. It's fun. And it's got this and other weird tribute stuff. Gizmo dressing up as E.T. and and going hunting for gremlins. I made so many compound bows out of paper clips thanks to this film as a child, and I can't imagine how many kids shot and hurt other kids based on that. It's a good film. The Curse 3, Blood Sacrifice. I don't know what this is about. Sometimes I buy horror movies. It's just what I do. Christopher Lee's in this film, but I don't know. If I had to guess, they made this film in response to Spit on Your Grave, like doing so well as a cult film, and like probably the video rentals, because that's sort of what the back feels like. Vaguely racist, African, like cannibal stuff. Who knows? But yeah, admittedly, I don't remember or haven't watched this one either. Another classic, Escape from New York, one of John Carpenter's greatest films. Again, it's presented in Panavision, something that just didn't happen at the time that these like Laserdiscs were coming out. This big like gatefold cover, if you can see all that. What was special about this one? It's in Panavision, so it's like the widescreen. It has commentary from John Carpenter and Kurt Russell in it on one analog track. Newly produced featurette of the making of the film, including clips from the deleted opening sequence, and original theatrical trailer. So I mean, DVDs before they were DVDs. And again, because of licensing and the way that certain things worked, some of this stuff didn't make it to anything else. I don't know if there's anything particularly special on Escape from New York. I think this film is popular enough that anything that was unique to this Laserdisc made it to some edition or other print of this film. But again, it's a masterpiece. The Kiss. Another horror movie I don't remember anything about. Um, as I got older, right, I began to defrag my memory in such a way, and my kids prevented my sleeping, and like back problems and snoring and all that stuff has ruined my memory, that it started dumping a lot of my horror movie memories. The Kiss, I know I've seen this before. I feel like this was an articulating cover at the video store that I used to go to all the time, which is probably why I rented it. It was seen by me at some point and re-picked up by me again at some point, but has not been rewatched by me yet. One day soon. I mean, this is a good reason to do this too, is to go through all these Laserdiscs and talk about them. So then I get myself excited about seeing them possibly once again. Since we're talking about horror movies, this is probably the most violent and intentionally sadistic film that I had seen up to that point in my life, and maybe still to this day. And was the basis for a lot of other knockoffs and other films which borrowed this format and used them in ways that felt equally as sadistic and masochistic, and I mean, you name it. Just horrible, really intentional and cruel violence. It's a film called Home Alone. And again, that build-up was meant to be a joke, but also not a joke. Everybody loves this film, and you should, because it's one of the best Christmas films, right? But what this child does to these two men, right? I mean, I agree, they're bad guys. Clearly, Joe Pesci in most films is a very specific type of sociopath. With that said, breaking and entering is not grounds for the type of cruel and unusual punishment that Kevin McAllister delivers onto these two grown men. And it's funny when you're a kid because it's reminiscent of cartoon stuff. As an adult who's received a second or third degree burn, you watch this film and you're like, oh my God. And I realize why some parents at the time, including one of my friend's parents, took their kids out of the theater when we were watching this, because man, if I know reasonably that my kids know not to do what happens in this film to other humans, but there's always the chance one of them might. And that is terrifying, because again, I don't know how many concussions, falls downstairs, burns you've gotten as an adult. It's terrifying to think about that in real time or as a grown human. This film is wonderful, but also full of sadism. What else we got? How I Got into College. I don't know what this is about, honestly. Oh, but this is why I bought it. Who doesn't love a little bit of glow history? I believe, I can't remember if she passed or not. Does it say on here? I'm blanking her name. The great. Anyways, one of the villains, the heels from Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. That's probably why I got this. I don't remember anything else about it. Nor have I probably watched it. There's behind the scenes, thank God. But yeah, How I Got in College. Another classic horror sci-fi film. When did this come out? 88. My God, I felt like this came out in 81, maybe. Life Force, Alien kind of knockoff, Horror Planet. It was sort of they said, what if we made a classic sci-fi film today? That's not bad. Maybe worth revisiting that for some of the other ones. This is one I've never opened because I can't bring myself to, but I love this. Screen Greats, I think this has been re-released. This one is about Tom Savini of everything fame, particularly George Romero. He's one of the bikers in Dawn of the Dead. He's just he was the top-notch kind of gory special effects guy during the 80s. And I guess this is just a film about him. Maybe a little documentary, 52 minutes. And it's sealed too, and I want to watch it, but also, I don't know, there's something very precious about having a sealed copy of that. God bless Tom Savini. That guy, responsible for so many parts of my childhood, just like David Lynch. For a long time, Lost Highway was not available on Blu-ray, DVD, or maybe it was on cassette, VHS. Yeah, I think on VHS, but not anything else. The only way you could see this in widescreen was on a Laserdisc, which I believe I ordered this thing from Lee Hartman and Sons forever ago. And it's part of my Nothing Records collection, because it's one of the few Laserdiscs that has Nothing Records in the back. Even though really the printing of this has nothing to do with Nothing Records, it's the soundtrack is Nothing Records, because Trent Reznor and that group were on it. But again, it was one of those things where the format facilitated a version of this film that was not available anywhere else for a very long time. The most probably 90s Laserdisc you could want on Laserdisc, or film you could want on Laserdisc, was Lawnmower Man. The unrated director's cut. Again, this is a version that did not exist for a long time anywhere except on this format. I can tell you, having watched this in this way and in other ways, it doesn't really change too much in the film. There's some more that monkey stuff in the beginning where they have the chimpanzee in cyber world killing stuff. There's a little bit more of a backstory on Job. But again, duly placed that this version existed for a while. So yeah, it's a little inside self-portrait. I do have some other random ones. I was going to go over. I don't know what this is. Disney's Imagine Active. School-age youngsters are capable of absorbing and retaining tremendous amounts of learning. Given the chance, they will have an amazing aptitude for knowledge. We must not deny them that chance. That was from Walt Disney, from a quote that came out well before the invention of Laserdisc. But I think this is a sampler. I'm guessing that Disney in the 80s, 90s tried to get into, when did this come out? It does not say. Try to get into the educational market, which is fair. This includes clips from Dare to Say No. We all remember Dare. I'm No Fool on Wheels. I'm No Fool with Electricity, new edition. I'm No Fool with Safety at School. Mickey's Safety Club, Halloween Surprises. This Is You, The Human Animal, second edition. This Is You and Your Five Senses, second edition. And This Is You and Your Food, second edition. That seems neat. There's these weird I don't know if you guys remember this from school when they had the carts with Laserdisc, the educational stuff, but they did have scanners to prompt the thing to wherever you wanted it to go, which is funny. But they also have the standard commands down here too, which is also interesting. Maybe they have their own Laserdisc system. I don't know. I think it's worth exploring sometime or watching. I am often fascinated by the sort of things that come. RCA used to have records that would come with their hi-fi stereos. It's yes, here's a sampler of all the magnificent ways in which our stereo will sound. Laserdisc were no different. Here is a Take 5, a Laserdisc sampler, which some of these, like this Tex Avery Screwball Cartoon Classics, that's one that's never get re-released. Probably for good reason. There's some pretty racist kind of, hard to say it's unintentional, but depictions in some of his classic cartoons. Oh wow, there's a lot of crazy stuff on this. selection from Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, easily one of the craziest films ever made. National Geographic, For All Mankind, The Criterion Collection, Tom and Jerry, oh, lots of stuff. Also, a clip from Sex, Lies, and Videotape, because why not include that? I mean, if you're going for a sampling of everything, neat. Yeah, so we should watch some of that too. Sometimes with stuff like this, like I can't obviously stream Drop Dead Fred, but I think there's some like introductions and weird stuff on these kind of discs that I can stream and get around copyright recognition. Like there's an introduction to this. I don't know what the introduction's about, but I'd be interested in knowing what that is to this like Take 5 sampler Laserdisc. What else we got? Oh, here's another one. RCA, retail demo disc. And this is another one that we could easily stream. This one seems to be about their Laserdisc system, or excuse, not Laserdisc, but their digital satellite system. Even though this is a Laserdisc. So I think the idea with this, and I still do this in my work today, you have a lobby somewhere, a showroom, you have a video playing on the floor that gives you information. Man, there's a lot of stuff on their digital satellite system on this, including how to mount it on a chimney, a wireless phone jack, do-it-yourself installation kit, second TV hookup, big screen home theater applications, pictures and sound, zoning, best of both worlds, professional installation, yada yada yada. Maybe this came now? Retail demo. So yeah, this one in like places that sold these. Yeah, another one we should watch sometime and figure out how it was. Did we talk about this? They're just giant CDs. The cool thing about this one, most of them don't have this. This one's backed in like that weird matte gray. This happens anytime there's new media. I don't care if it's cassette tape, I don't care if it's CDs, I don't care if it's CD-ROMs, whatever. Someone tries to find a way to like put educational information on a thing. This knowledge disc is the world's first Laserdisc encyclopedia. I don't know how this would work. It looks crazy. It looks like just a long, like scrolling, like menu of crap you can look up. Some of what it shows that you can look up in the search table includes Boston Tea Party, Boston Terrier, Boston University, the Bostonians, James Boswell, Botanical Garden, Botany, Botany Bay, Fernando Botero, a buttfly. Oh, well, you got me. I was never going to play this, but now I just want to look up what this has on botflies. For those of you watching at home that don't know what a botfly is, it says flies that like lay their larvae in your skin when you're like sleeping or in a jungle somewhere, and then flies come out of your rotting skin. They're neat. Fist of Glory, I don't know what this is. Bad 80s, 90s action movie. Haven't watched it either. Again, sometimes when I find these, lots of times too, ones like these, they'll be in the record section of like a thrift store or something like that. I'll throw them in with a pile of records because why not buy a Laserdisc for like a nickel? These are weird things. I think these were Japanese releases. Maybe, maybe not. These are tiny Laserdisc. I don't know how they work. They're video singles, sort of. These are both Sheena Easton. They both have, this one has 4 songs in it, this one has 3. Maybe they're music videos. I don't know how it works. Watch these someday and figure out too. I'm told it utilizes the same additional Laserdisc features as every other Laserdisc, including step frame, slow motion, 3 times normal speed, and chapter frame search. Sheena Easton. God bless her. Another one I found in a record bin with River Phoenix. I don't know. I've never heard of this. A Night of Life of Jimmy Reardon. There's so many weird. I haven't ever been able to figure out the genre of film. I think maybe they all are about. They stem from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but I think they actually start before Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But it's like fun, rich-ish, privileged kid goes on an adventure because of their wild and crazy lifestyles. That's what this one looks like a lot too. It's got the girl from Dream a Little Dream in it. I don't know. River Phoenix, rest in peace. Although, curiously, this one's rated R. Came out in 1988. Who knows? So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Oof. Maybe one that hasn't aged quite as well either. True Identity. This is another weird 80s genre that it's like, have the white guy be a black guy, have the black guy be a white guy, and see what happens. And I understand that there's probably some things that definitely needed and to be said about race, but that's, I don't know. True Identity. This features, who's this gentleman? Fast-talking actor Miles Pope, comedian Lenny Henry. Apparently he is the, according to the back, he is the British Eddie Murphy. Playing two roles in this film. Looks like the mob's after him, so he goes on, I don't know, goes on witness protection, but I don't know, changing his race. That's... Laserdiscs were also interesting when it came to the arts. Lots of opera, lots of symphonies, lots of plays on Laserdisc. Salome and the Forbidden, or the Royal Opera is definitely, I mean, excuse me, just Salome, is no different. Again, probably pick this up with records just because. Strictly Business, a film with the Wayans brother that I hadn't seen. Don't know much about it either. I think these were all in the same lot because of how they all have the same water damage. Don Johnson, Heartbeat, action film with Don Johnson. It's not just another rock video. It is a movie. It is not just a movie. Instead, it is a music video featuring technologies and styles from both mediums. Heartbeat is a surrealistic venture into the experiences and reflections of the documentary filmmaker, played by Don Johnson, as he evaluates the people and places that have made up his life. Containing no dialogue, the video includes all the music from his smash debut album. Ah, this is what I'm talking about. I didn't even know I had this, and it's fantastic. So this film, please tell me it's open. Okay, good. This is a passion project by an actor turned musician that we all know and love, Don Johnson from Miami Vice. It's like, I guess it's going to be a lot like Sort of Cool as Ice, and see, there's no dialogue. Moonwalker and everybody else's sort of cocaine dreams. I don't know how these things got made. I understand to an extent how they got made, but you know, at some point when people are doing so well in some genre, they're like, well, why don't we just keep the ball rolling forever? And this is how this stuff gets made. There's probably a reason none of us have ever heard of this. At least I haven't. A special appearance by Willie Nelson. Yeah. A lot going on here. Luis Guzman's in this? I may have to watch this tonight. Brian Stephen King, take note. This is like, and John Rayburn, this is our next movie night. All right, and finally, what's the last one we have? Born of Fire. Evil never dies, it just takes a new soul. I don't know anything about this one. Winners of the Gold Special Jury Award at the Houston International Film Festival in 1987, the Special Media Award at the Madrid Film Festival in 1987. I don't know. During a recital in London, Peter, the talented young flautist, discovers that he is unconsciously summoning up sinister, distorted melodies. Afterwards, he is approached by a woman who claims to recognize these strange melodies. Being an astronomer, she feels is somehow linked to the volcanic eruption expected in Turkey, the same place where both Peter's parents died violent and mysterious deaths. Possessed by the desire To find the truth, they set out into the wild and relentless countryside of Turkey. There they are led into an obscure world of the evil power of the master musician, a supernatural being whose intentions unfold to them distorted visions and dark occurrences. The story leads to a spectacular climax, a battle between good and evil, creation and destruction. It's too evil to keep reading. Stirred into a mortal combat by the power of music. Wow. So glad I accidentally bought this. And these are filthy. They're covered in like mildew and dust and everything, so excuse me. Yeah, Born of Fire. So there you have it, folks. All the Laserdisc that I own. Yeah. I fortunately no COVID. Just regular allergies. That's all I got, guys. And I hope you enjoyed this Laserdisc journey. Cam, if you're just tuning in, I'm sorry. You should go back and watch. There's a bunch of really good horror movies that I guess we should probably screen sometime. Hope you guys all have a great day. Maybe back on here a year from now, 2 years from now. Who knows? All right. Talk to you soon. Goodbye, everyone.